Hey folks, I'm here with Dr. Bailey to do another installment of the Wildcat Teacher Chat. Thank you, Dr. Bailey, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah. So I know you're at the middle school and you are a math teacher, but why don't we share with everybody your journey to becoming a teacher?
Yeah. So I did not take a traditional route to becoming a teacher. I went to Athens School District. I was at Gladys Burnham originally, and I was an elementary student out there. And I would say I had some of the best elementary teachers there was. I really enjoyed my K through 5 experience out there. It's a small setting. I lived in Ridgebury, so growing up in Ridgebury kind of got that small town feel at Gladys Burnham. And then when I went to the middle school, it was kind of the same story. I found teachers who were really great, and kind of spurred my interest in learning. And then, I can remember Mrs. Pritchard. So if anybody knows Mrs. Pritchard, she had a love of learning and kind of instilled that in me as a student. And then that continued on as I got to junior high and then the high school. But in the high school, I made some stronger connections with some of the teachers who really encouraged me to, do my best. Mr. Webster and I had a pretty good connection where he taught me pretty much everything I needed to know for art and really gave me a love of the subject. So that's ultimately what I went to school for. But backtracking just a little bit, Mrs. Bronson, she taught me science, but she also was interested in helping me beyond school. She had asked me one day, and I must have been a junior at the time, what I had planned on doing after high school. And I said, I don't really know. So I had no clue. I mean, nobody really had kind of asked me that. And she said, well, are you applying to college? And I said, no. And she said, well, what I want you to do, if you're okay with it, is to come to me during your OC, and I want you to fill out an application. And I was taking architecture classes with Mr. Young at the time, and I did all the AutoCAD classes, and I really was interested in the design aspect of that. Couple that with what Mr. Webster was teaching me. So I was like, I could go to school for architecture. And so that's kind of what Mrs. Bronson helped me out with. She kind of steered me in the right direction in terms of filling out the application. And so I applied to Penn State and got into University Park main campus on what I ended up getting in for was undeclared, or with the intent of the following year going into the architecture program. So I was in all of the design classes and I was doing all the art stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I gained a strong appreciation for the arts, and the architecture piece ended up falling apart. And then I was going into engineering because I had a strong math background as well. I took calculus with Mr. Gleckner, and he made me love math. I mean, I don't know if people
That's a hard job for a lot of you guys.
Oh, I know. And it was, AP Calc, and it was great. I loved it. I kind of traveled down the road of engineering for a little while, and then ultimately decided, engineering wasn't for me. And then I got into, I've always been an athlete, going through high school, going for middle school. I was like, well, maybe I'll do sports science. And I kinesiology. And, I traveled down that road for a little bit. And, lo and behold, it's my junior year, and I still don't really have anything nailed to the wall. So I'm like, what in the world? I'm kind of spinning my wheels here. And then I was talking with my counselor at Penn State, and they were like, well, you have all of these art credits, and you speak so fondly of your experience in education. Have you thought about becoming a teacher? And I said, no. So then I started thinking about it, and I was like, man, I really enjoyed my experience in school because of the teachers that I've had.
Right.
And I thought that would be a worthwhile thing for me to do with my life, is to go into education and help the next person enjoy being here. So, and then to backtrack a little bit, to couple that with my oldest brother had some difficulty in school, and he ended up dropping out in 10th grade. So, and he's 4 years older than me. So I kind of had a bird's eye view of the power of what education can do for you, but also what it limits you to do.
Sure.
So, and he struggled for a while in terms of just, having the academic ability to hold a good job. And, he's done a lot of really great things since, but he struggled initially after dropping out of high school, as, we can imagine people would. Mm-hmm. But having, kind of a perspective of watching him go through that made me really go all in with education.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I can help the kid who struggles with school, or might not love all of the academic pieces, or just needs somebody to kind of like encourage them, that's what I can do.
Right.
And so I found my footing late in college, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for being here and having the opportunity to help kids.
And I think it's incredible, like you kind of started on the path of being an art teacher, right? That's kind of how you ended things for college.
Yeah.
But we're sitting in your classroom, and if I'm looking at your board correctly, that is not art.
No.
And you have been a math teacher here for how long?
Since 2012.
So you've taught math for about 13 years.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
Is there any correlation between art and math?
In terms of composition, there's some, and talk about rules of thirds and perspectives and stuff like that, but there's really, not a ton. Some people call about the golden rule and things like that, but there's not a ton. So
I've always wanted to ask that question.
Yeah.
Dr. Bailey, I think that's incredible. Like, you started out in art. You're now a very well thought of math teacher. I know the kids absolutely love you. I think some of the Keystone algebra tests say you do a good job. You're very successful at that. Why do you love to teach? What brings you into work every day?
I think just giving kids an opportunity to grow. A lot of times I'll talk to them at the beginning of a unit and I'll show them what they're expected to do at the end, and they'll just look at it and be like, I don't know how to do that. I'm like, give me 7 days and you can do that.
Right.
So I think just giving them the opportunity to grow intellectually and also gain confidence in themselves, because a lot of what we do in math class, particularly in 8th grade, is just learning all of like the auxiliary skills through math. So they're learning self-discipline, they're learning how to build their confidence, they're learning perseverance through hard things, and just, the work ethic that's needed to persevere and grow and be successul. So for me, I think the challenge, particularly in middle school, is helping kids find all of those things in an easy way, I guess.
Right. That's very good. Teaching them perseverance is a skill that is becoming rarer and rarer these days. You're dealing with our students. It's interesting because you teach math and you are an Athens alum, and you teach in a very important area, and you talk about perseverance and giving back, but you're not just also a teacher. You haven't been a teacher, you've been a coach. Can you talk about your experiences as a coach too? Yeah,
so when I first got to the district, I was asked to help out with the football program, the junior high football program. Coach Maynard was coaching at the time, and he said, hey, I could really use a good assistant coach. And I said, hey, I loved football. I played here for Athens, and we did pretty good. And I said, I think I could probably help you out. So I started assistant coaching for him. Oh my goodness, that must have been 2013 or 14. And I did that for the better part of 6 years. And then at that point in my life, I was coaching football and wrestling at the same time, and back-to-back seasons was kind of brutal.
Right.
Especially as I was starting a family and, my time was becoming very valuable. I made the decision to only coach wrestling, which, I really enjoy coaching wrestling. I've done that for, 9-10 years now.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I look forward to every year. We love what we are able to do here for the wrestling program.
Absolutely, and it's amazing because I had the opportunity to probably work a little bit closer with the athletics last year than normal. I think the most incredible thing, because I kind of followed junior high wrestling a little bit around, I was like, I got to keep watching. These
You were
kids
all
are fun.
over. You came all over and watched us and supported us. It was awesome.
But those kids were so much fun, and they worked hard. And there's a lot of things that cross streams when it comes to learning on the mat versus learning in the classroom.
Yeah.
And you could see that happening in those situations. And that's why I'm a big fan of student athletics, because it reinforces the skills we're trying to teach in the classroom, but it also teaches them a lot about growing up, maturing, responsibility, how to handle difficult situations and failure, because especially in wrestling, there's only one weight class and only one person gets to wrestle per weight class. Yeah. So it's incredible how you mentored kids through that, because I watched you do that, because you did a lot of that. What's the most challenging thing that you think is happening today in the classroom or as a coach? What's the most challenging thing that you have to deal with?
Well, I say this usually every year, and it's usually my biggest hurdle. And I'm pretty open with the kids in terms of it's also their biggest hurdle. And by time some students get to 8th grade, they start to get this concept or this idea of, I can't do it. And that really creates a barrier, a mental block for students to find success in the classroom, because it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. I can't do it. So then what happens? Well, they give minimal effort and they underperform, and then they prove themselves right. Mm-hmm. So I really challenge them at the beginning of the year to come in with an open mind, to allow me to help them, and to start advocating for themselves in ways that they maybe haven't before. And for me, I feel like that has really helped those students who might have started to give up to come back to the table and work a little bit harder. You tie the two, wrestling in academics together. Sports and academics do tie together.
Yep.
Wrestling is a really hard sport, and it's something that the students go through that really challenges them, not just physically but mentally. We talk about breaking students breaking wrestlers. Like if another kid is wrestling somebody, breaking them is pushing them past their mental limit, and then they just kind of start giving up. And so for us to be able to do that to other wrestlers is really important. To have it done to us is kind of defeating, but we work our kids to a point where they can do that to others. Yeah. And what I've learned as a coach is students who wrestle can be pushed beyond their limits or their believed limits if they have the right person supporting them.
So true.
And Coach Bishop and I and all my other assistant coaches do a phenomenal job of pushing these kids to where they might break in practice, but then we build them back up so that the next time they break, it's a little further.
Yep.
And then a little further. And then, the rest is history.
I think you call that teaching, because we're sitting at desks, but I just watched you have a math class where you were definitely pushing people beyond their perceived limits.
Yes.
If you were to give some people advice, parents are always a major partner in a child's success in a classroom. If you had a chance to give some advice to parents on how to help their child be successful, what advice would you give them?
So, it's tough for algebra. We do a lot of pre-algebra stuff in 8th grade and then some full-fledged algebra. And a lot of times I get parents that say, I just don't know how to do the math. I haven't had that math in 20 years. And I tell them I fully understand. What I do is I've recorded all of my introductory lectures and posted them online. So it's not just some YouTube channel,
Right.
which are great,
Right.
but YouTube is like a rabbit hole. Next thing you know, you're watching, goat videos and instead of what you're supposed to do.
True story.
Yeah.
True
so
story.
for me, I took the opportunity, and this was during our COVID era, where I was doing a lot of, virtual stuff. I just recorded all of my lectures and then posted them. So, if the parent is having a hard time, they can help by sitting down and watching those videos with their kids. But really, it just comes down to just supporting what we're trying to do here. We're trying to hold kids accountable to a high standard. I say that a lot with my students. Hold yourself to a high standard. Parents need to do that too. We're trying to not just educate the youth of tomorrow, but what we're also trying to do is make them better citizens. And I think that's a lot of what happens, especially in my room. I'm just trying to make them better human beings as well. So that's really important piece. So just holding their kids to a high standard, asking how they might be supportive at home, and then just making sure that they understand there's two sides to a story if they do get a bad version, and to kind of come to me with an open mind. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that is some really great advice, because I think at the end of the day, we have a very important job, and it might not be just math or just ELA. I think the most important thing we're all trying to do as teachers is make sure that we are filling our community up with quality citizens, right? Who can help grow our community and our Commonwealth and our country. So it's an important task, and it's a partnership. And I'm glad you made a lot of great points for those parents. So hopefully they listen. And if not, we're always here to help support them.
Absolutely, always.
Tough question for you now, Dr.
Okay.
Bailey, as we start to wind down. Math teacher, art teacher, coach. What do you do for a hobby? What do you do for fun? What do you do to de-stress?
Well, exercise. I exercise. I love lifting weights.
Yeah.
I enjoy woodworking. So right now, I've refinished most of the rooms in my house. So start redoing them, I guess, is the point, right? I still do a lot of ceramics. So I really enjoy pottery.
That's awesome.
That was where a lot of my art background took focus, was in pottery and ceramics. So I find a lot of joy doing that still.
Right.
And then just being a dad. I have two small boys right now, 3 and 1 years old, and they're a lot of joy. Tricky at times, but It's a lot of fun, and I spend a lot of my time with them. So it's really great.
Yeah, having young kids, I have grandchildren, and they definitely fill your cup. They spill it, they knock it over, but they definitely fill your cup.
That's a good way to put it.
They definitely do, and it's awesome. And I'm certain they take up a lot of your free time.
They sure do.
Everybody wants to know, and this is what the kids, they just want to know. Favorite lunch here at school?
Ooh, my favorite lunch? That's a really good question. That meatball sub is pretty hard to beat. I eat lunch here pretty daily. So the meatball sub is fantastic. But the other day they made a pasta Alfredo with chicken that I thought was really awesome. So that might be the top of the charts right now. We'll have to keep trying them out.
We'll have to give a little bit of a shout out to Leanne Young, our food service director for Nutrition Inc., and all of the people that work in our cafeterias. It's really good food. I know I think kids complain because it's just repetitive. But they do try to bring new things, and it's actually pretty fun and pretty tasty. I enjoy it. I had that Alfredo. It's really good.
Yeah, and they offer so many different things. When I was coming through, it was, you can get this, or you can.
You had option A and option B, and option B usually was a peanut butter sandwich because you couldn't even get jelly.
So now they have options A through E. So.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Bailey, I thoroughly enjoyed taking some of your time and sitting down and helping the community kind of learn about some of our great Wildcat teachers, which you certainly are.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's great that you are an alum. It's great that you're giving back. It's great that you're doing more inside and outside of the classroom. And we appreciate you. So Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a big honor to be on the spotlight, so I appreciate you coming in and
Always.
asking me the tough questions.
Always. Hey, folks, that was Dr. Bailey. We can't thank him enough. Stay tuned for our next video. And hey, if you ever get on the YouTube rabbit hole, don't worry. I got lots of videos for you. Come on down to the Wildcat Superintendent. Subscribe. We got lots of great videos about great things happening right here in the Athens Area School District. And as always, go Wildcats.